back to Beast Wars Wednesday. I'm your host, Predacon Paul.
And I am your host, Decepticon, Doug.
Hey, Doug, have you lost weight?
Actually, yes, but it's a touchy subject. I have an eating disorder.
Wait, really?
Hey, Predacon Paul, why didn't the skeleton cross the road?
I don't know.
Because he didn't have the guts.
Oh, I've got a question for you.
Please tell.
What happened to the pirate ship that sank in the sea full of sharks?
Tell me.
It came back with a skeleton crew!
That did the trick.
Today's episode is called
Possession.
It's a dark and stormy night on the planet that is not Earth.
It could be any planet in the universe.
and there's an Energon storm happening. Rather powerful one. It's been knocking the Axelon around, took out her shields, and starts punching holes in her hull.
Meanwhile, there is a mysterious spark hovering above the Maximal base, and then it moves on to the Predacon base. The Predacon base. This Predacon base is also under some heavy fire from the storm. Waspinator's working at the comm station, trying to,
Push buttons.
he gets knocked back a little bit, and Megatron like, hey, damage report. Waspinator clearly misunderstood and tells Megatron, hey, don't worry.
I'm just fine. But thanks for asking.
Megatron doesn't care about Waspinator, he never has. There's a fire on the lower deck, so Megatron has to go check that. Waspinator's at the computer screen, and he's like, oh, what's going on? What is this? A voice comes from the computer screen, throws a little jab toward Waspinator, and then suddenly something comes out of the computer and takes over Waspinator's body. The Maximal base, just to be sure, they put all of their extra weapons and armor down in the hold to keep it safe, just in case lightning strikes. They don't want anything to ignite.
And to keep it secret as well.
Yeah, keep it secret. Keep it safe.
Because you can't have ring wraiths coming for all your guns.
Yeah, there's bad news in that they've got holes in the hull, like some pretty big, nasty holes. Down in the depths of the Predacon base, Waspinator comes down and announces to everybody who he actually is. It's not Waspinator, everybody. Waspinator has been possessed by the ghost of Air Commander Starscream of the Decepticon battle fleet.
As opposed to the Decepticon humanitarian fleet.
Predacons all get together for a little powwow. They go to talk about what's going on. So let's talk about Starscream. Black Arachnia gives a nice little bit of exposition to inform the audience what's going on. The Decepticons were our ancestors. The Autobots were the ancestors of the Maximals. And Starscream was a character from the Decepticon days.
One of the things I really liked about this particular bit of exposition is the fact that Starscream, when he starts talking about how he got slagged by Unicron, you see that Starscream is on the surface of a planet, and then Unicron eclipses the sun. He's this massive transformer. You get a really good sense of scale with Unicron by just how big he is.
So Starscream, while he was a spark, happened to pass by the Maximal base and see the damage that was done. And so he's passing along this information to Megatron, saying that, hey, we should attack this place because the Maximals are going to be defending this wider gap here, so this will be our advantage to go into the Maximal base and take it over. So the Maximals are preparing for an attack the next day after the storm has gone down. Cheetor spots Scorponok's Cyber Bee, so the Maximals know the Predacons are going to be coming. Boom! The Maximals are taken off guard, and they look down into their engineering room. Starscream's got such an ego that the moment Cheetor has trouble hitting him, he announces why. He's like, you didn't hit me because I am Starscream and not Waspinator, and therefore I am awesome.
I am greatest of all Decepticons.
In the scuffle, Dinobot gets shot in the back by Megatron. Optimus is like, oh boy, this isn't going well. We better piece it out of here. He picks up Dinobot and they abandon the base.
The second Dinobot goes down, it's well, cheese it!
Predacons have a celebratory meeting. If they had champagne, they would have popped a cork and started drinking it.
Some bubbly.
Good job, everybody, especially Starscream.
Guess what? We're going to go back to the base because it's undefended.
Who knows where Inferno is? I guess he's defending the base, but no.
It's the colony. We love Starscream, don't we? He's in charge. And then Pterosaur's like, that's stupid! And then Megatron's like, shut your mouth! And then he goes, Hey, Scorponok, come here.
Yes, Megatron.
Keep an eye on him. I don't trust him.
Yes, Megatron.
Cool. Peace.
And Starscream's right in front of them, of course, so he can't hear a thing.
Yeah.
The Maximals are recouping elsewhere, and Cheetor's like, "Oh, my stuff."
I bet you one of them's right now, lifting up my mattress, finding my stash of... And-
Battle tactics.
Yes.
And notes on local wildlife. Optimus is like, well, we don't know much about this Starscream.
Because apparently the Maximal Elders were like, here's a good idea. Let's make all the files on some treacherous fool. No one can read this because we're the Maximal Elders. And then Dinobot's like,
Fools! Fair point.
and then he tells them,
Starscream is a super treacherous bozo.
yeah. He like wrote the book on treachery, not like the good kind of treachery, where like you accomplish something. It's like the bad kind of treachery where you like kick someone when they're down and then you throw them outside the airlock while they still function.
And precisely what happened. The Maximals get a hold of Air Razor and Tigatron, and they figure out a plan, and they head back to their former base to plea for mercy from Starscream so they can bring the crippled Dinobot into the CR chamber for repairs. Otherwise, he's toast. Megatron left Starscream at the Maximal base with Scorponok and Black Arachnia. Now, Black Arachnia has this little meeting with Starscream saying that, hey, I actually know the truth. You didn't die saving Galvatron. You died betraying him, and then he returned and killed you. And Starscream's like, well, yes, but what are you going to do about it? And Black Arachnia says, what can you give me?
Let's talk Predacon myth.
Which means, being conniving and betraying. There's a secret alliance between Black Arachnia and Starscream. Starscream agrees 100% to the terms and conditions of the Maximals. The Maximals say, we'll do whatever you want in exchange for Dinobot being able to get repaired.
Whatever you want. We will do whatever you want.
So Starscream takes in Optimus and Dinobot, puts Dinobot in the repair chamber, and tells Scorponok to lock up Optimus down in the hold, or something. Starscream goes to the other Maximals and says, the Raptor and the Ape are my prisoners. Now you guys, I have a job for you. Go attack the Predacon base.
Scorponok is like, it sounds like betrayal. Brr.
Before Scorponok can land a shot, Black Arachnia takes him out with a kaboom boom gun. He flies off, as usual, as Scorponok tends to do.
And then Tigatron, in his like infinite wisdom, is like, we had a deal!
And now we have another one!
So, Tigatron, what part of we'll do whatever you want do you not understand? Part of doing whatever you want means being taken prisoner, and then go attack the Pred base. The terms of that agreement, quite broad.
As strange as this whole deal is, the Maximals agree, they head straight to the Pred base to open siege. Optimus is down in the hold still, and he's like, well, it's a good thing I had my flimsy metals ready for them to lock me up here, because kaboom! I'm a gorilla! And he just happens to be exactly where the Maximals locked up all the guns and ammo. So he's able to restock his weaponry in a kind of an awkward reaching shot.
Hate that shot.
Starscream's been giving tips and tricks to Black Arachnia about how to betray people. He's like, oh, he's more gullible than you'd hope. But luckily, Optimus is like, hey, he's giving one-liners. I can give one-liners too. Lesson 3, disregard lessons 1 and 2. Boom, boom.
That's like Power Rangers level tough talk right there.
Starscream's like, hey, there's no way he can take on both of us. Ho, ho, ho. Boom, and he releases Dinobot. And then Starscream's like, peace, flies away. Now leaving Black Arachnia behind. She's not happy about that. Well, I guess that's how the agreement goes. And she leaves.
Even a Decepticon understands just how valuable an asset Dinobot is.
Dinobot gets taken down. We got abandoned base. Oh, we can take on Optimus. Dinobot's out. Bye!
He's just
Optimus is like, Dinobot, you got the base. I'm gonna go get Starscream. Now, the Maximals are trying to open siege on the Predacon base. Cheetor and Rattrap are trying to sneak in. They get caught by the sensors. It's not really going great. It is like 5 Maximals shooting a battleship.
This is suicide.
They kind of have to take a break. They're like, anyone need to smoke? I need smoke.
Smoke if you got him.
And then-
Starscream shows up. He's like, no, keep attacking the base. Optimus shows up. He's all like,
I have to tell you, Starscream, you're giving space debris a very bad name.
a brief scuffle ensues that Optimus goes maximum burning uppercuts Starscream.
See, what Starscream failed to realize is that he took over Waspinator's body. Waspinator.
Of all the people.
So he could only improve the body that he took over so much with his tactical skills. And, tries to negotiate with Optimus. He's like, hey, by the way, I think you are a really cool-looking gorilla.
You got a great shade of silver going on. You got kind of like a full-body George Clooney thing going on.
Has anyone ever told you that you seem like a really capable leader?
Not to mention, I'm sure you can crush an entire tree of bananas like the best of them. And Optimus is like, bruv, I know you're playing me, but you're right.
Looks like Optimus is having none of it. And he sees Black Wreck, and he's like, aha, this is my way out. Hey, you take out this guy, we can still rule the Predacons together.
Are all your dreams in Technicolor? And he's like, you betrayed me! Because he ends up like crawling up against a small mound of Energon.
She launches a missile, and Optimus is like, hey, I don't even need to do anything. I'm going to piece it out of here. Hasta la vista, Starscream, because Optimus has seen Terminator 2, because who hasn't? The Energon rock explodes, taking out Starscream with it.
Megatron gets his hands dirty. He wants to reassemble Waspinator.
Oh yeah, Waspinator says my favorite line in the whole show, I'm pretty sure.
No, Waspinator has a headache in his whole body.
Waspinator's back, but Starscream is gone. The Maximals are putting back together their base. They're like, we're home again. All is well. Cheetor, do you want to help out down here? And Cheetor's like, well, I just want to say a line that was relevant to the plot. Twinkle, twinkle, little Starscream. Or do you guys like, when you wish upon a Starscream? Yeah, definitely the first one. Then they go into space, and Starscream is flying around again, wishing vengeance upon, I guess, everybody, and we never see him again. The end.
All right, what worked for you?
I just liked how spooktacular this episode was.
It was very spooktacular.
It was a possession story.
This is basically The Exorcist, but Transformers.
Yeah. There was a little bit of subtext, hidden subtext at the end, where right before Optimus flew away, he went, the power of Christ compels you, and then he flew away, and that's why the spark left Waspinator's body.
And also, the reason why Starscream took off is because when Dinobot came out with the chopper, when that has the sword attached to it, it's actually a cross.
It's true, yeah. So it worked for me. I like that this sets up sort of like a bit of the timeline of where Beast Wars is, and it kind of reconciles G1 with Beast Wars. Like, that was one of the big complaints. When Beast Wars first came out, there were like Transformer Puritans who didn't want anything to do with it. They're like, no! Transformers, they turn into trucks, and they turn into cars, and that's all. And these guys are too small, and that's not Optimus Prime, and that's not Megatron. Doesn't make any sense. Obviously, the Transformers community has warmed up to it in retrospect.
But here's the thing. Beast Wars is a better show than G1, hands down. Come at me, bro.
But anyway, it's established now that this takes place 300 years after the events of the Transformers G1 series. And so since then, there's been what is called the Great Upgrade. And so, yeah, this episode is great for kind of establishing the timeline and the groundwork for making the series make sense in a larger continuity. It's now a part of the traditional Transformers lore. And I think that's really cool. It's a nice callback to the old series. Like, Starscream was always a fan favorite. They bring him back, and they're very true to his character. Now, this is something I didn't know until much later, when I actually rewatched the whole G1 show. But there's an episode called Starscream's Ghost. And this is after Starscream is dead, when the series takes off again after the movie. And Starscream's ghost takes over the body of, I don't remember who, one of the Decepticons. It just helps the whole overall Transformers universe work a little bit better. They took an idea from an old episode of Starscream's Ghost, and instead made it Starscream's Immortal Spark. So they actually, if anything, it helped like make that older episode better. It gave it something that made a little more sense. Not a lot more sense, but a little more sense. And also, big props to Doug Parker. He does the voice of Terrorsaur, but he does Starscream, and you can hear that it's kind of the same guy, but he does a very different performance than he does Terrorsaur, and does a lot of justice to the Starscream voice. He knocks out of the park.
I really enjoyed Black Arachnia's part in this whole thing. And in this episode, she plays everyone. She plays the Maximals, obviously because she's a Predacon. Mm-hmm. She plays like the two factions of Predacons against each other.
But yeah, she's still pulling a fast one on Megatron.
Yep.
But she's also leaving her options open, ready to abandon Starscream whenever she needs to as well.
And he does that to himself. I mean, he ditches her as soon as Dinobot comes out of that thing, and she's like, gah!
It's like, okay, well, maybe this wasn't worth it after all.
Starscream is renowned for his treacherous nature, right? So to see him get played by her the whole time he thinks he's playing her, it's nice.
But we are definitely getting a good sense of her character at this point in the series. Like, between the Trigger, Spider's Game, and now Possession, she's fleshed out. Starscream's plan is to send the Maximals to attack the Predacon base so Starscream can take over the Predacons. It's the stupidest plan ever, and couldn't possibly work, and doesn't. But the upside is that, like, that's totally in line with Starscream's character. All he's ever done in the past is the moment Megatron turns his back, he's like, I'm gonna be a leader. He shoots Megatron, doesn't do any damage. Megatron turns around, shoots him back, and goes like, stop that. And he's like, I'm so sorry. And that's like the main motions of Starscream's character. He's not a brilliant tactician. He's not smart. He's always been a complete idiot. And eventually, when Galvatron/Megatron was just finally sick of it, he just killed him off for good.
It was really like the dumbest plan ever. Let's say Starscream did win the day. He's in Waspinator's body. That can only get you so far. What's to keep Pterosaur from ripping him to shreds?
What's to keep Tarantulas from, like, eating him? Megatron is in charge, not just because he's smart, but he's big. Starscream's not smart or big. He cannot control that team.
A glaring issue I have is that how did Starscream manage to make Waspinator travel at the speeds with the maneuverability and the agility that he had? It doesn't make any sense at all. Starscream simply possessed Waspinator. He's a big robot with wasp wings.
Really, he can't just redefine the laws of physics to suit him because he's a spark that took over someone else's body. Even as a kid, it didn't really ring true to me.
Me either. I was like, that's silly.
It just seemed like the director trying to make Starscream seem like a more legitimate threat.
What would have made more sense, honestly, is if he possessed Air Razor. She's able to, like, break the sound barrier easily.
That's right, yeah. And it would have added an interesting dynamic to the episode, because then the Maximals care about Air Razor. So it's not like Megatron where he's like, okay, whatever, Waspinator, I'm no big loss. But the Maximals, they want their comrade back. She would be way more of a threat.
Hell yeah.
She's got the power, she's got the speed. It's almost a completely different episode.
But the stakes would be so much higher.
One of my issues with this episode is some of the battles and stuff that took place during the episode weren't as big as they should have been.
Oh my god, tell me about it.
The fight in the engine room in the Maximal base, it was very underwhelming. You didn't even see most of the Predacons. You saw Black Arachnia, Megatron, and Starscream Waspinator.
As soon as Dinobot goes down, he's just like, oh, everyone out!
There's a lot of Megatron shooting crates in the engine room, as if like that does something. Like, for the Maximals to have to abandon base, there should be something bigger. It should feel more important.
One thing which I didn't like, I mean, it's just something small, but it's big enough for me. The Predacons are on that planet for the sole purpose of finding Energon. There's an Energon crystal the size of a small house, sitting right next to the base. Is this required watching? I don't think so. I mean, this I feel like was more fan service. It felt more like filler.
I've seen worse attempts at fan service. It was fun. It was a good episode, but yeah, it was definitely not like important. Except for maybe establishing a bit more of the timeline.
We're going to give this episode 3 shameless fan service cameos. It's not a great episode. It's not a bad episode.
But the concept had more potential. I can understand why people really like this episode. I have seen it on like lists of favorite episodes because it does fan service pretty well. But there are a lot of things it could have done differently that would have made it even better.
Please like, subscribe, tell your friends, tell your mom.
And we're going to put a link to our Facebook page down in the description. Please follow us there because we'll be keeping you posted. Give you some new announcements and everything as they come to us. So please check it out.
Uh-oh, it's happening again.
Remember, kids, have a safe time out there and a happy Halloween!
Welcome back to Beast Wars.